Hi, this is Joseph from Spreadsheets Made Easy, and today I want to talk about Excel shortcuts. Excel shortcuts are awesome because they save you a lot of time when you work with Excel, they make you more productive, and they help you be more efficient at your job. In this video, I want to talk about a bunch of shortcuts that help me save a lot of time and help me be more efficient in Excel, and I'm sure it could do the same thing for you. Let's get started. The first tip I want to share is something that you'll use all the time, and that is undo and redo. Undo is when you made a mistake. Let's say you deleted something and you didn't want to delete it. You can just press Control Z to get that back. Now, if you make multiple mistakes, let's say you deleted one thing and another thing and another thing, you can keep Control Z back until the first time you did any mistake. So you can press Control Z, Control Z, Control Z again. The only caveat with Control Z is that if you press Save, you clear out all actions that you had done and you don't get to use Control Z anymore. So just be aware of that. You basically will clear all that out and you won't be able to Control Z out of any mistakes you've made after you press save. Another tip is the redo. So let's say you deleted something and you undid those changes. Well, if you actually thought, you know what, I did need to do those things instead of undo them, Control Y will actually redo those actions that you had previously undid. So simply just Control Z to undo and Control Y to redo. Another shortcut that you'll use a lot is going to be cut, copy, paste, and then paste special. Cut is when you basically press Control X and you've told Excel, I want to remove this item from this spot and put it somewhere else. So you press Control X to get ready to cut that item, click somewhere else, press Control V, and you've moved that item from one place to another. So this is different from copy, where if you press Control C, that makes that copy, come over here and paste Control V. That's different, that's making a copy instead of cutting this out and putting it somewhere else. So I'm going to delete that real quick. And one last one I want to talk about is the paste special. So for example, you have here this formula that says $2, but if you did a copy and you moved over here and you did a paste, you don't actually get the $2, you've copied the formula over. If you want to actually copy the value over, you have to use something called paste special, and normally what you would do is right click and say, okay, paste special, and you'd click on this and a new window would show up, and then you can click on values and press OK. And that works fine, but we're talking about Excel shortcuts, so we want to make this faster for ourselves. So what you could do is, after you've copied this, you come over here, you press Control Alt V, and that will bring up this window here, and you can select values, and then you can press OK. Even faster than this, in my opinion, because you don't have to leave the keyboard, is Control V to just do a regular paste, and then this little window down here says CTRL, which is just Control on your keyboard. If you actually press Control, you expand this window and you get a lot more options. And people would normally come in here and click on these values, but if you notice, there's like a little parentheses and then a letter. That just says that if you press that key, you can actually use a shortcut to activate that particular item. So for paste, if I just press P, it would be a regular paste. If I come down to paste special, and I see that for values it's V, all I have to do is press V, and then that'll accept a shortcut to paste value. So again, come over here, copy, come over here, Control V for paste, Control to expand that window, and then V to select paste special. This is real simple and fast, and I use this all the time. I love it. Another tip you can use is faster navigation through tables and worksheets in general by using the Control and then the arrow keys. So if I'm in a table here and I press Control down, that'll bring me like to the last known row in that particular column of the table that I'm in. I can also press Control right to go to the right, Control up to come back up, Control right, Control left, and I just navigate until I stop hitting any data at all. So I go to the right until there's no more data left, and then Excel will stop at that point. This is really useful if you need to get to the end of a very large table. You can just come over here and press Control down and get to the end. Another thing would be if you're outside of the table, you can actually get to a table by pressing Control and then towards wherever that table is. Now, one thing to note real quick is that if you have some data down here, for example, and you press control down from here, you won't actually get to that very last cell down there, but that's because you have these contiguous cells here, and then the data stops. So Excel looks at that and says, okay, I think they want to stop right here instead of down here. If you actually need to get to that part, you can go down to the first end of that table, and then from the end, you can press control down again to get to the next set of data. So this is helpful if you have multiple tables below each other and you just need to move from table to table. Another nice trick with this is if you hold shift when you press control and the arrow key, you can actually select a whole bunch of cells. So if I wanted to select this top row, for example, I can press control shift right, and then I can put some format. I can press control B to do a bold or whatever I'd like to do. But it's a fast way to select a whole bunch of cells at once. This is really useful if you need to place a format on a bunch of cells. So you can press control down and then apply a format. And this is just really useful for when you have to do copy paste operations and all sorts of other things like that. Another tip you can use is if you're way down in Excel worksheet, somewhere like thousands of rows down, you don't want to scroll back up, or you don't want to use the scroll bar to get back up. A quick way to get back to home, basically at the beginning of the worksheet, is control home. This is a way just to jump right back to cell A1. It's a real simple way to get there. The opposite of that is control end, which will bring you to the last cell that Excel knew about. The reason this picked over here instead of something like here is because I've been working with this workbook while recording this video, and I've had some data over here previously, so Excel said, I think this is the last cell. But basically, if I were to save this, it would figure out that, okay, this is the last cell actually. One other nice tip is if you're within a table here and you wanted to select the whole table, you could do that control shift over and control shift down, but that doesn't always work the same way. Like if you're here, for example, control shift over and control shift down, it only selected this one because your main active cell was this one here, and it just stopped here if you press control down. If you want to select the whole table that you're working with, as long as you're somewhere within the table, you can press control A, and that'll just expand out to select the entire table. So this is really useful, real fast way to select an entire set of data that you want. Another Excel shortcut I'd like to share is fill down. So if I come over here, I have this formula here, and let's say I wanted to expand this down to the end of the table. There's a couple nice shortcuts you could use. The default is just control, select, and then paste. But we want something faster. One fast way is if you have contiguous cells next to this particular data, you can double click this fill handle and that'll fill down the cells for you. So that's one fast way. Another fast way is if you actually have the cells selected already, you can press Control D and that'll do the same thing. Another nice tip is if you wanted to sum a column, normally what you would do is press equals sum, open parentheses, select your data, close parentheses, press enter, and that works fine. But if you want to do this in one broad stroke, simply just Alt equals, and that'll just do the same thing for you. So you just have to make sure you go to the end of your data here, press Alt equals, and that'll just create the sum formula for you. Real handy, real fast, very nice feature. Another tip is if you want to insert a date and timestamp, you can add a date by pressing Control semicolon. That'll just insert the current date. And then if you want to add the current time, you can press Control Shift colon, and that'll just add the current time. So this is a nice little fast way to add a date and time. Instead of typing it out manually, just simply Control semicolon for date, Control Shift colon for time. The next shortcut I'd like to share is editing a cell. Normally when you edit a cell, you just double click in here and then you can type whatever you need to, or you would click in the formula bar and also edit the cell from there. Something I like to do a lot faster is just press F2. You're already at your keyboard. If you just navigate to the cell you want, you can press F2 and you can change whatever you need to there. It just makes things a lot easier to work with, and I use this all the time. The next handy tip is locking cell references. So this formula here, I have B4 times C4 and nothing's locked, which means that if I press Control C over here, Control V over here, the cell's references have changed from B4 and C4 to F4 and G4. And And let's say I didn't want to do this. Let's say I actually wanted to lock the columns only. What you can normally do is press F2 to come in here, come over here, just put a $sign here and a $sign here, and you've locked the columns. But a faster way to go through this is if you press F2, hit Shift Home to select the whole formula, and then press F4 to toggle references for the entire formula. So when I press F4, everything's locked now. The columns and the rows are locked. If I press F4 again, the rows are locked. F4 one more time, the columns are locked, and then F4 again, and then nothing's locked. So this is a fast way you can toggle through locking your cell references. And for this particular example, I wanted to do just the columns. So I'm just going to F4 until I get to locking the columns and press enter. Now this worked for the first formula, but the other formulas aren't filled in that same way. And I want to update these formulas to be locking the columns just like I did for the first one here. So what I can do is start combining keyboard shortcuts and press Control-Shift down to select all the formulas here, and then press Control-D to apply the fill down shortcut that'll also add the lock-in mechanism to every other cell below. So it's real handy and real nice to use. Now it's great that we're starting to combine shortcuts in this way. The final tip I'd like to share is quickly creating an Excel table. Normally when you create a table, people would just select their data, click over here, format as table, and then they would just select something to format as a table. And that works fine and everything, and you can do that. But there's a nice faster way to do this, which is simply, you can just be anywhere in your table. You don't have to select the table or anything. Just press Control-T. That'll bring up the Create Table dialog, and it'll just ask you, hey, is this data correct? And does it have headers? Usually you can just accept this because most of the time Excel is smart enough to figure out what your data is and if you have headers. So you can press OK and get your table, and then it's just so fast to just press Control-T and then enter, and now you have an Excel table. And that covers the shortcuts I wanted to talk about in this video. I really hope you enjoyed this content. It's helped me be more productive at Excel, and I hope it makes you more productive at Excel as well. If there's a shortcut you thought I missed, please put a comment and let me know what your favorite shortcut is. And if you like these shortcuts and want to see more, there's a nice PDF printout that I created that you can print and you can put at your desk as a handy reference. Simply click the link in the video here and enter in your email, and I'll email you the PDF printout that you can have as a handy reference. I want to thank you again for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, please subscribe, and I'll see you next time.